Thank you very much for patiently listening to Dr. Aftaryab's speech. He was referring to many and other nations are facing those injustices, violations of human rights include the abduction of the people, include the uh, not allowing them the way they want to live with dignity and peace, and the involvement of the Pakistani military in not only in Pakistan's political system, but also in every matter in that region. So to speak on the same, very same issue, which is obviously the violation which the Baloch people are facing in Balochistan for the last 7 decades. And today, as we know, it is the International Human Rights Day, a day that free world celebrates to make sure, to ensure that people are having their basic human rights. People are having the rights to free education. People are having the right to choose the way they want to live, as we see in today's civilized Western world. But the part of the world, the region which we come from, our people suffering, or people are living a totally different life. Let alone the way you want to live, it is impossible for us to live a happy and peaceful life. And that is because Balochistan is under a military subjugation. Operation has the Balochistan has faced has no limits. In the last 3 weeks, as we have seen in Balochistan, in Turbat, the families, the mothers, sisters, fathers, brothers, family members of the abducted Baloch youth, elderlies, have been protesting, and then they started a long march that is moving towards Quetta, Shal, the capital of Balochistan, and with one hope only, to get justice, to get their human rights. Uh, we have a great journalist, author, who has written on many other topics, but also she has written a book on Balochistan. Francisca Marino. She has been a really great voice for the Baloch people. She has been writing articles, she has been speaking on many forums, and it is our honor that we are here today to talk on the International Human Rights Day on the issues of Balochistan.
Good morning. I was talking not so long ago with somebody who has been a dear guest of ISI dungeons in Balochistan for 12 years. The only reason why he's still alive, they did not kill him, it is because he is actually a Norway citizen. So, well, they thought twice before finishing. He was telling me what happened inside there. I will spare you the most, but one of the things was he was tortured, physically tortured for 6 months. Then they decided to upgrade his status, so was not torture physically anymore, but all the rest. Yes, the rest means being covered in lice, in lices and dirt, having no food, and above all, being kept in the dark so much and for so long that at At the point, they got worried because he was dying, and they called a doctor, and the doctor said it was actually lack of B vitamin because of the dark. So since then, they started to put him in the sun once a month, more or less, just not to let him die. He was telling me also he's still looking for the family of this woman, a lady who was tortured, and through the women, not only men are abducted, not only men disappear, women too, and more often in the past few years. This lady had been, of course, before and while was raped, was beaten up. Is a common thing. It happened to many women taken in the street with their children, taken in the street and used by the Pakistani army as commodities. Sometimes they are killed, sometimes they are not. But this is what happened. Children are killed. I remember years ago, it was, his name was Chakar, and he was 10, found dead with sign of torture, thrown in the street. His crime, being the little brother of somebody who had already disappeared. This is what happens. This is what happens, and is happening much more. Like you all know, there are mass graves. There are private prisons, death squads, proxy of the army that use private prison where they keep their own prisoners. Death squads, of course, are bordering, the border is very thin with ordinary criminality, but of course they get along with it so much that they are candidates for elections too. And your current caretaker prime minister was photographed more than once sitting with the most famous of death squad chiefs, Shafiq Mengal. So what always struck me is that what's happening in Balochistan is not only a systematic violations of human rights, kill and dump, enforced disappearing, rape by the army, children. You mentioned one. It happens in Balochistan. What always strikes me is that there's nobody outside Pakistan or India, outside South Asia, who would talk about it, even though it's horrendous what happens, and there are plenty of proofs. But UN, first of all, international observers are not allowed. Second thing, UN has its own very I don't know what to say, I don't want to use a bad word, his own procedures. According to his own procedures, to have real proofs, it's so ridiculous that actually only a democratic country would give that kind of access and proofs, because a non-democratic country and the countries doing this to their own citizens are not democratic countries. They won't give that kind of access and that kind of data. The other thing is, even though Baluch ticks all the boxes in terms of genocide, human rights violations, ethnic cleansing, and again, mention one, it happens. It does not tick some of the boxes that make the so-called Western audience, and again, there's nothing calling the West, but for just to understand each other, it does not tick what make Western audience mind resonate. And it's always been like this since 70s. I wrote a book on Pakistan with an elder colleague, and Benjamin Natale, during 70s was working for an extreme left newspaper, Il Manifesto. And he was telling me that somebody, he does not remember the name, I'm almost sure I figured out who he was, arrived in the office, in the newspaper office, telling the story of Balochistan and asking for support. Benjamin wrote 1-2 pieces, but no, nobody was really picking up the issue. And the point is, okay, I know it's not nice to say it in the current context, but it's better to be frank. I mean, at least you understand where you stand. There's no white oppressor. Since the oppressor is Pakistan, and Pakistan always had a privileged relationship with Americans and with the West. There's the ultimate argument to Americans recur to when you talk to Pakistan. Well, what you want from us, they have the bomb. This is the ultimate thing. So you cannot touch Pakistan because they have the bomb. So whatever Pakistan does, until it does not cross too much other interests, it's fine. The other thing is, it is an internal issue. So you say, okay, do you mean, so if it is an internal issue, every country is allowed to kill with impunity their own citizens like this, and the rest of the world should stay silent? The official answers are, yeah, but the non-official answer is yes, Russia is authorized to do it, and nobody says anything. Imagine for Baloch. The other thing is, I was ready today to explain the issue, and there would be a very strong legal case to raise against Pakistan, because Kalat, when it was annexed, it was a constitutional monarchy. Leave alone the long argument whether the Khan signed with a gun here, or by his own will, or he had a dream. Leave this alone. At the end of the day, it does not matter, because he had no legal power to sign that annexion, because being a constitutional monarchy, every decision, that decision in particular, should have been endorsed by the parliament. The parliament refused twice. Then it was dissolved. So there's also a very strong legal case. But again, nobody cares. The reason also because nobody cares is that they don't know. I was ready, as I said, to explain all these issues and all what Pakistani army and their proxies are doing to Baloch. And in the past in the past few years, more and more, not only to Baloch, but to half of the population, because even Pashtun disappeared, Sindhi disappeared. So, but again, using a very politically incorrect term, I did not see another white face here except mine. We don't need to tell what happens to ourselves. We need to raise awareness with Europeans, with Americans, not being locked into a room. Otherwise, this issue will never, ever get out of the borders of Pakistan. People will never march for Baloch. Even if we show all the horrible things, and as I said, there are so many proofs. But who knows? Who knows? You need to be in the street, not here, to talk to people, to explain people what's happening and why, as I go on saying, Baloch lives matter.
Thank you very much, ma'am.